And we're rolling.
All right. Hey, welcome to Acres of Diamonds, podcast number 8. We're waiting for DJ actually to fix his microphone.
There we go.
Much too strong and broke it apparently. So I'm here with DJ Ligori, co-founder of Acres of Diamonds, and Tyler Updike. Tyler Updike is an architect here in Rochester, friend of DJ's, friend of mine. Long time friend, and we're doing video for the first time because we were very impressed with Tyler's attempt at growing a mustache.
Yes, not attempt.
You may not be able to see it, but it is there. Yes, and it's
very successful.
Very successful. He sets a very low bar apparently.
The quarantine has inspired. But
he's confident. But he's confident because he's achieved that goal. So there are some pluses to setting low goals, I guess. So DJ, I have very little idea why Tyler's here today, but I'm glad he's here.
Mm-hmm.
What brought him here? What are we talking about?
So Ty and I live together now, and we have been doing a journey together, and the journey is the plant-based diet. And for probably about 2 months before we started the plant-based diet, I was really mainly meat, so I went the total opposite of what we're doing now. And I could say it's a huge difference. The way you feel, the way you act, I love it so far.
The way you act.
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, if you're more energized, you're going to be a little bit more apt to maybe do a little bit more working out, maybe really start eating healthy and knowing what you really put into your body. I mean, the way you act is definitely affected from what you put into your body.
So what was the catalyst for actually undertaking this project? Because meat is pretty much a staple of an American diet, especially for you two that are pseudo-athletes. I mean, you pretend to be athletes in your spare time occasionally.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
And when you can't be athletic, you grow mustaches and facial hair, apparently.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yep.
So
yeah, quarantine is really motivating us to change our exterior.
So how did that happen? And then Tyler, I'm very curious of how DJ convinced you to get him involved, or how you got DJ convinced to be involved.
And you can go up with this one.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with how fast DJ changed his diet. Actually, it was about a month and a week ago. We watched the Game Changers documentary on Netflix, and DJ at that point was eating one meat per meal. So it was like a full chicken breast in the morning, steak for lunch, and salmon for dinner, for example.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like that, to be honest. It was pretty impressive. And we watched this Game Changers podcast. It was about
Documentary,
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. And it was on a Sunday, and we just changed all of our dieting, and DJ went completely off meat. Well, actually, he had a bunch stored in the fridge, so he had to get rid of that first.
And just eat all of it on Monday and Tuesday.
So then, once he finished that, he completely changed, and I was really impressed with how fast you took that on as like a challenge. I thought that was awesome.
I mean, after watching the show, the documentary, the way we watched it though, it was extremely educational for all of us. We'd pause it after 20 minutes in and be like, wow. Like I didn't know that was actually a thing. Like, let's talk about this, guys. And we would then offer up our opinions about it. And I'd be like, well, steak has this amount of protein. I don't mind this. And our other roommate Dante saying, well, what about the carbs and this and that? So we were all kind of teaching each other the value.
So it was the three of you.
Yeah, it was the three of us.
And you treated it like a class.
It was.
Which is neat because it is a documentary, and that's exactly what they want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we have to remember after this. Let's tag Game Changers in some way, shape, or form. Either go to their site and tag them, but to have a couple of young guys like yourselves, honestly, that have been raised. How old are you? 24, 25, right?
Yeah.
Been raised your whole life to believe that meat is the only way to get protein, which is then the only way to build muscle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, did they talk about gorillas? in there, like gorillas being plant eaters, but
Yeah,
yet being the
DJ.
strongest animals
Yeah.
on the planet.
That was the line that I think shook most of us. There was
Dante and DJ were both.
we were blown away.
Their mouths, their jaws were just on the ground.
Yeah,
They
that
were
was a pause. That
when
was a
they heard
pause
that
moment.
one. We paused.
Horses.
Rhinoceri.
Yeah.
Rhinoceri.
I mean, all of these animals, like cows, gorillas, rhinoceros, these massive animals, they don't eat meat.
Right.
And they asked the guy, one of the individuals who was on the plant-based diet, he is the world record holder for, what was it, the most amount of weight carried, the most amount of distance.
Yeah, it was like the most weight carried about 20 steps or something.
It was like 1,100 pounds. Like
It
was ridiculous. And they were asking him. They said, what's your diet? How much meat do you eat? All this. He said, I don't eat any meat. And
No way.
And the guy said, what do you? He said, if you want to become as strong as an ox one day, how do you expect to get that big if you don't eat any meat? And the guy said, well, let me ask you this: how much meat have you ever seen an ox eat?
Right.
And like we were watching it, and we all looked at each other, and we paused, and I
was
was
an
like,
immediate
holy
pause.
shit, he's totally right. If you think about it, all these animals that we eat, like cows or burgers and steaks,
Oh my gosh.
they don't eat meat.
Yeah.
They eat grass. They eat vegetation.
Right.
So then why do we then eventually eat their meat, their bodies?
Right.
But it was fueled by plants and other vegetation.
Wow. So that is kind of mind blowing, right?
Yeah.
When you start thinking about it that way. So, all right. So you flipped the switch, which is pretty standard for you. I mean, we haven't talked a lot about your mental discipline, but what I've learned in working with you is you're one of the most mentally disciplined people I know.
It's
right?
insane.
One of the most mentally tough people I know, and it's inspiring. The day I meet David Goggins, you're going to go to number 2, by the way. But Tyler, for you, how quickly did you transition?
So I was kind of into it already. I've kind of been researching this stuff for a while now. It actually hasn't been that long, but since I learned about it, I've been really interested in it. I've always tried to keep up with my body. I think that kind of fuels everything else you do. It has an impact on everything. But it all started with me trying to be more awake and just feel more alive. So I started with like coffee, and then once I learned about this, and I think it was like senior year in college, I actually watched What the Health documentary on Netflix also, and I came home and the thing that I took away from it was that animals and animal meat are carcinogenic. So
Really?
they cause cancer. And I brought this information back to my roommate, my friend from high school, Mike Camilacci, and I go, so did you know that animals are carcinogenic? And I was expecting his jaw to drop and have that same effect like DJ and Dante had. And he goes, yeah, you didn't know that? And I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. So immediately when I know I don't know something as well as someone else, I gotta learn about it. So I just started going in, researching. I read a couple articles on it and just tried to learn as much as possible.
I will say he was the cat. I mean, really, if you want to say the catalyst, Tyler was the catalyst to this. Because Tyler was the one saying, hey, I'm doing this plant-based diet. There's this documentary on Netflix that I think you guys would enjoy, and then we agreed to do it. And now look at us a month later. We're full blown into this. So he was really the inspiration behind it.
So you had started it already before the documentary.
I was into the plant-based about a month before these guys were. I still eat dairy, so it's not like vegan, but I did go pretty heavily plant-based. I'm sad that we can't really test our insights on athletics, because usually I use basketball as a way to kind of test all of my dieting habits, but obviously with the quarantine you can't really do that right now. So
I'd love to know, just anecdotally, how you guys feel different, right? So I believe what you said, Tyler. I think the body and mind are ridiculously connected. Physiology is huge, right? If your body feels like shit, your mind's going to feel like shit, and vice versa, right? I think you can think yourself into a lot of physical ailments, right? I've seen it with friends where they get stressed and anxious and they break out in eczema. As soon as they stop being stressed and anxious, they don't have eczema, right? So, and I've watched my brother's children remove dyes from their diet and processed foods from their diet, and they are lean, mean, I mean, they are just strong, sinewy, muscular kids.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
Young men.
a young woman and young female. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're just, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So how have you guys? What's changed for you? Like, what are you noticing?
Definitely the way that you feel on a daily basis. I mean, Ty and I were talking, about waking up. A couple of days ago, last week on Sunday, we had one meat day. So even though we're talking about not eating meat, we did some research, and what was this, Ty? They said that it was okay to have one serving of meat every 2 weeks or so, something like that.
Yeah, sure.
It was okay to have a cheeseburger or whatever it may be. So we were like, all right, well, if we're given the green light to eat some meat, we're going to go hard, and we're going to get some Sticky Lips barbecue, and got just racks of ribs delivered to the house. We got brisket, cornbread. I mean, we went fully in. And so we ate it, and almost instantly after, Ty and I both fell asleep for like 4 hours. And we were both, it was on a Sunday, we both were sitting on the couches, had heard on a different documentary, and passed out. Woke up at like 8 o'clock, and I looked over and I was like, dude, we just absolutely got zonked out for like no reason. I'm like, I wasn't even tired. So I got aware of that. I was like, I became super lethargic after eating all this meat. The next day when I did my workout in the morning, I was still lethargic and lazy. I didn't feel as energetic. The same thing happened to me on Friday, actually, yesterday. There was a chicken sandwich that somebody had purchased for me at work, so I kind of felt obligated to eat it. I felt a little bad if I wasn't going to. I ate it and had the same feeling after, that lethargic and lazy feeling. During the week, when we're eating these oatmeals, when we're eating these grains and all of these tofus and these non-meatless meats, we feel, I don't know about you, Ty, I feel much more energetic and awake than I typically did with the meat. And we sleep like animals.
Ooh.
I mean, that, I don't know if that has
Really?
something.
You sleep a lot better?
Oh my God, I don't know if it's something in it, but we were talking every morning we wake up, we have like 3 of the same topics. Is 1, when is the quarantine gonna end? 2, don't you miss like going out? And 3, how good did you sleep last night?
Yep.
And it's
Every
wild.
morning.
Yeah, every morning. So
You guys are like a married couple.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A handsome, very handsome
married couple.
yes.
And Dante's like
Yes.
our deranged brother-in-law who just like hangs around.
Gotcha. So Tyler, how do you feel different? What's different for you? Do you agree with all that, or?
Definitely feel more awake, and when I go to sleep, I'm ready to go to sleep. I think that has a lot to do with how cold our house is also. So like there's some variables in it, of course, but generally I used to, when I get home from work, I would usually take a nap, maybe about like an hour nap. I never like to sleep during the day just because I don't want to waste any time, but I would just feel tired from work, and this is when I was eating a lot of meat. So this is about like 3 months ago maybe. So this is kind of what the catalyst was to make a change, and I really wanted to feel more awake, and it worked. I really did feel more awake.
So what's interesting about both these guys, I talked about DJ's discipline, but Tyler's discipline was pretty evident to me when he was a young man as well. He and his brother, for probably a year, used to get up at 5 in the morning and go with me to the Y to work out. And when I say work out, we weren't sitting around talking, shooting the shit. We were there for 30 to 45 minutes, and they were working out. I mean, they were doing sprints, they were doing shooting drills, they were doing agility drills, they were doing reaction drills, and they were sweating their balls off after 35, 45 minutes. And so Tyler, it's not a surprise to me that either of you are looking for the next edge, if you will, in psychology, or next edge in fitness at all. In fact, it's pretty awesome now that to be learning from the two of you about this stuff, and it's inspiring. What would you recommend? Now, did you both go cold turkey, like right into plant-based?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dropped everything.
regardless from the 3 steaks that were still in the in the freezer. I mean, we just polished those off, and then we were fortunate enough. I mean, we both, all 3 of us, Dante included, we all eat similarly the same foods.
That's great.
Yeah, different quantities, different times, depending upon our schedule. So we all go to Wegmans at the same time, and we just all spend like $100, get everything we need, all put it in the cupboards, and then just feast for like 2 weeks. So it's all really the same stuff. And I personally think that the preparation is much easier as well.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I mean, it's quick.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, you
Really?
think about, yeah, you think
You
about.
don't have to be as careful with it.
Yeah. It's very, you think about if you're on a meat diet, you'd have to cook your steak. Cooking the steak might take 20 minutes to a half an hour or so. Then you have to meal prep a chicken. Then you have to, if you want to cook a salmon. Most of the times, if in the morning when I was doing the meat stuff, I would cook a steak for breakfast. I'd have steak and eggs, and then I would cook the chicken as well for lunch. So it would be like a 45-minute preparation. Now it's like you make tofu, you make these meatless chicken nuggets, all these things. It takes like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's extremely, very convenient.
Efficiency was a huge part of it, and you never have to worry about cross-contamination, which is a huge thing. I don't like being sick ever, and I have gotten like food poisoning before. Not fun. I love how I don't have to worry about where I put this food or like wiping it down after I'm done to cancel out that cross-contamination. If
Right.
it like drips on the counter, I don't want to have to worry about that. And I'm a guy who's all about efficiency. I try to do everything as fast as possible, so you can like kind of make the most out of your day. And that was just huge for me. That was
Wow.
big.
So so you've inspired me to take this a lot more seriously than I was prior to this discussion. How do you get started? Like, where do you get the recipes, stuff
Great
like
question.
that? Where do you get the food?
This is
Like, where do I find this food? I don't shop in these aisles, I don't think.
Yeah.
This isn't in the Pop-Tart aisle, right?
No, it's
No.
not. It's far away.
Okay.
So this is something they talked about in Game Changers very briefly, and we were kind of upset they didn't talk about it more. So we looked into the Game Changers recipes, and they actually had a bunch of them online. They helped us out a lot with that. So we just started looking at mainly tofu, and we kind of think of tofu as like the meat of a plant-based diet, kind of. So that's like our main course per se. So we get a lot of, I think the first start was chicken nuggets. We got these
It's awesome.
fake chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
So they're tofu nuggets, and they're very easy to make. They taste almost identical to the Tyson chicken nuggets that you buy from your Wegmans or grocery store, and they taste a little bit different. Now with all of this, you kind of have to be aware that this is not meat. So you have to know that going into it. It's not going to taste like meat because it's not meat. But the chicken nuggets were definitely a good way of getting into it. We make a lot of just tofu meals. We use quinoa.
A lot of seeds too.
Healthy
It's like a lot
seed, chia seeds,
Yeah.
flax seed,
Yeah.
hemp seed, all very high and dense in protein. Quinoa, a lot of protein. Brown rice, protein. And obviously we're looking to still build muscle. We're still on that same, still have those same goals of trying to get bigger, just more athletic and just feel better. So we're always looking for protein, and that's something that kind of is known to be lacking in plant-based diets. But something that's not really said is that in all vegetables, they're complete proteins. They have all, I believe it's 9 amino acids versus a lot of meats don't have all 9 amino acids, so they don't have that full chain. So they're not as quality of protein, which I don't think a lot of people know. I found that really interesting in the Game Changers podcast.
So it's not as dense a protein in some of your vegetables, but it's higher quality protein.
Right.
Which is something I never.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's
necessarily
interesting.
Like the actual quality of the protein.
Right.
I mean, if you say, like some of the stuff, like the seeds, for example. I looked at it this morning. Like a third of a cup of quinoa seeds that you can just throw into basically anything, and you don't even taste them. It's like an extra 170 calories, and there's like 7 grams of protein in it. So you can basically just implement these small hits of protein into all of your meals, and you don't even necessarily taste it.
Yep.
So that was one thing that I've really enjoyed about this, is there never felt like there was too much of a sacrifice.
Well, I've started mine. I've had
Like-
2 Impossible Whoppers so far.
Yeah.
Yep, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
The French fries, where do they qualify on the plant-based diet?
I don't think
They're
that's-
potatoes, right?
They are technically
They
potatoes,
are.
but so that
They
was
are.
the one thing that we.
Fried food's a no-no?
Yeah, that was interesting because Dante was always very key about this. So say you have a cheese pizza. I mean, well, like, so you could have a pizza, but technically, yeah, there's dairy on it, but there's no meat if you don't have pepperoni on it. So you'd be like, oh, well, that applies. But you're also eating like shit. That's a cheese pizza.
Right.
So there's a way where you have to say.
What if it was a cauliflower cheese pizza?
Those would count. Ty and I have actually had.
They're pretty good.
Oh my god! And there's like,
high in
like
protein
50
also.
grams of protein in
It's
one.
insane.
It was ridiculous.
Oh, really?
I think it's 30 in one pizza, and we usually have about one pizza.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And you'd think like, all right, we have a cauliflower pizza. Is there going to be protein in it? And we turn it over, and there's 30 grams of protein.
It's
Like,
wild.
wow! Like, holy cow!
Yeah. I mean, are you finding eating this way is more expensive or less expensive?
Way less
Less.
expensive.
Come on.
Very much less.
Way less.
Why?
Less.
How can that be?
So the tofu being the meat of the diet, I'll start there. If you replace that with meat, these things of tofu are about, I think it's 40 grams of protein, and they cost about $2.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
we'll
which
buy
is
like
about
8 of them.
Wow, yeah, because if you buy a protein bar, you get 12 grams of protein for a buck,
Yes.
or if you buy a protein powder,
Mhm.
like you get it for 20 grams of protein in a powder for a buck,
Yeah.
basically.
I will
that's
say the
kind of-
plant-based protein powder though is expensive.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's like
That-
$2 a serving.
That's
for sure.
That's
Yeah.
the more expensive stuff. But if you think
Mhm.
about like steaks, Wegman steaks. So say you buy two just strip steaks or sirloin steaks, they were almost like $30 for like 2 of them. So now we go there and I was typically spending around like $220 every 2 weeks to go to Wegmans.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I mean, I remember the first day we went, and when to get all the plant-based food, I was like, I want to spend around like $250, and I spent like 140, and I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I really thought I mean, we were grabbing things. I was kind of throwing caution to the wind, like, yeah, if you think that's it, throw it in here.
Mhm.
Like, let's just buy it all and see what works. And we only hit like $140. I was like, dude, it almost cut in half
Wow.
of the meat diet.
And how's the
That's why-
texture? So tofu sometimes for me,
I mean.
the texture gets me sometimes.
You gotta, I mean, like Ty said, it's not meat.
not meat.
It's not meat, so you have to mentally prepare yourself for it. It's a little squishy, but
So there's a learning curve
Yeah.
to it. You got to look up
Yeah.
how to cook it.
But I
There's
do
some different
believe.
ways.
Look, if you eat something 10, 12 times in a row, you get used to it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the initial reaction. There's so many foods like that for me now that being married to my wife, she eats all kinds of things, right? She's a very mature palate. I didn't until I met her. Now, I eat a lot of stuff I didn't used to eat because of her.
yeah.
And so I might eat a lot more stuff because of YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, my grandma is fully plant-based.
And has been for
It has
ever,
been,
right?
Yes, and I remember when I told her.
Tell this story. Tell this story about your father. That's a great
My
story.
father growing up did not eat meat. He was, I don't know if it was 100% no, I'm not eating meat, but more often than not, he did not eat meat.
Yeah.
And so then he met my mother, and the first time, I don't know if it was the first time, but as time had gone on, my grandfather said, so you don't eat meat? And my father said, yeah. And he goes, well, if you want to continue seeing my daughter, we're going to have to change that. And so my father said, all right, well, that was when I started eating meat.
Your grandfather didn't trust the non-meat eater, huh?
Yes, and I could totally see, and I don't even almost like talking about it to people, but I guess people are going to hear it now. It's like, no, I don't eat meat. You don't eat meat? What are you, a vegetarian? What are you, one of those people?
Yeah, what's
It's
wrong
like,
with you?
What's wrong with you? And that was a common theme that
Right.
they mentioned in the Game Changers was, you're no less manly if you don't eat a steak. It's like, I can eat a steak, and I can eat a lot of steaks, but can you eat spinach? Can you eat
Right.
quinoa? Like, that's the stuff that we eat now, which does the same effect.
Right.
Has the same value.
Look, I mean, here's the reality. We are socially conditioned every freaking day by the media,
Mhm.
right? So there's a huge meat lobby out there. There's a huge sugar lobby out there, right?
Yeah.
And that has conditioned our brain for certain things. And, it is what it is. Now, to your point, we've also been conditioned that real men eat meat and potatoes,
Mhm.
right? Well, go look at the real men that are really, really elite athletes. That's not the case anymore, right? The endurance athletes, the ultra marathoners, these people that are testing the limits of their bodies and minds these days, they're not sold on the whole meat lobby, paradigm, right? And you guys are proving the same thing.
Which is something that they hit on in that documentary. like the athletes that were part of the plant-based diet, it made me feel like, all right, this is okay to do.
Yeah.
That's kind
You're
of,
still a man.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
good. That's good to know.
And
Is Tyler still a man?
Yes. And
Tyler
yes,
too?
Tyler
Yes.
is still a man.
Yes, still here.
Oh, still here?
man.
Still got that mustache.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so it made us feel okay to do it, and having Tyler already doing it,
Yeah.
because he's someone I trust, someone I love. I was like, all right, if he's doing it, then I'm okay with starting it.
I'm actually. There's some things I learned about you today, Tyler. I didn't necessarily recognize that you were, you were a life hack, meaning you're constantly looking for more efficient, more effective ways to do things. I didn't recognize that about you. It makes sense. I mean, I probably haven't been around you 6 or 8 years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. That's good to know. So I can go to you as a resource about better ways of living, huh?
Just if you need any nonsense information, I'm always there for you.
Oh, good.
That's all I'm looking up all day.
Well, I remember seeing you at Murphy's Law after a wine tour, and you had plenty of nonsense information that night. I remember that. Jeez, holy cow! Red teeth too.
That's good.
That was nice.
God,
Yeah.
that was a good day.
I feel like going out
It's a
to
good
those
day.
places was so long ago.
It
like
was.
2008.
Well, Tyler, you had a whole list of things you wanted to mention. We've only got 3 or 4 minutes left here. Is there anything you haven't mentioned that you wanted to mention to make sure people learn about?
So, as you mentioned, I'm an architect. So I went to school at UB for architecture. Got my master's while I was there. During my grad school years, I started learning about learning about being environmentally conscious and learning about the ecology and everything.
Leads.
Yes, lead. So they started pointing me in a direction with a research group. Nice.
Smart, huh?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So
I have no idea what leads is.
We'll clue you in later.
yeah, so they started teaching me about like our water problems in the world, and I didn't know about a lot of this stuff. Agriculture is actually a big part of our water. So it takes up about 50% of our land, and a lot of it, more than half, is used for animal fodder, for creating animal fodder, like food for animals, as well as raising the animals. This takes up a ton of our land. The fodder actually, in order to make the fodder, it takes so much water that goes into a cow to make this cheeseburger. It's called like a water footprint. So that water is equal to 1 pound of cheeseburger, or hamburger rather, takes about I believe it was 1,600 gallons of water to create this single hamburger. And that's not like, I mean, it goes into the fodder, it goes into, you gotta feed the cow water. So all put together, this hamburger takes about 1,600 gallons of water to make, which that sent me for a loop when I learned that. Where something like wheat, 1 pound of wheat, which has more calories than 1 pound of cheeseburger, only takes about 400 gallons of water. So it's about a quarter of the amount and has more calories in it. So it could feed more people and give you more vitamins and nutrients per pound. So
Back to
I thought
your
that was
efficiency.
insane.
Back to
Yeah.
your efficiency.
More
equation.
efficiency with the water.
Yeah.
I learned about how many places in the world are lacking in water, in clean water. I know right here in the U.S., like California, there's a huge water problem. Arizona, specifically Orange County, is in deep trouble. There's certain places in Africa. This one they talked about in a water documentary we recently watched, where they talked about day zero for water. So that was discussing the day where they would not have any more clean water in order to feed these millions of people. Once people in this community heard about this day zero, they completely changed their ways. They started being more careful with their water use, and they kept pushing back day zero by a month at a time, and then about 6 months later it was indefinitely pushed back. So they came together as a community to push back this day zero, which I thought was incredible.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if we're at a place where we can do that in specifically the U.S. just because of the notion that we have this clean water constantly at our disposal, coming out of our sinks, coming out of our showers. Not that personal use, like human use for water, is a very huge demand of water percentage throughout everything that we do, but agriculture is very much up there. And just to speak to like that documentary, the amount of percentage of land that goes into the amount of agriculture, like farm animals to be produced, to be made into meat, versus the amount of like vegetation agriculture is significantly less. It's about 23 to I think 77 was the percentage. So 77% is animal land to raise these animals, and through that process of creating animal food, it only serves for 23% of our calorie intake as humans. So 77% of the land produces 23, where that 23% produces 77% of our calorie intake, which I thought that was just a big wow factor for me.
It's like that 20-80 rule.
Yeah.
Or that 80-20.
80-20 rule, yeah. That's a great, it shows up everywhere.
It shows up everywhere.
Well, Tyler, thank you. That's I didn't expect us to go that direction. That's awesome. It's got me thinking a lot, and got me grateful that we live near Lake Ontario and a bunch of Finger Lakes for our fresh water supply. Not too crazy about the snow that comes with it, but other than that, it's been nice being here. So, DJ, any wrap-up thoughts?
Well, you can tell by all of the stats that Ty just gave that I'm in very good hands with all of the background information. And I also want to say thank you to Dante as well. I mean, Dante does, you know, I'm fortunate enough to live with two guys who, we research this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we try it, and then we test it. And I'm very lucky to have friends who actually want to do that. You know, there's a lot of people who might just say, no, dude, I'm just coming home and going to Taco Bell because it's $5 for 28 burritos. You know, cause
that's a good point.
It's easy.
Yeah.
You know, we come home and we're, hey, I had spinach today. Hey, I had this. I ate kale. I ate my rice, my grains, this, and we kind of, you know, we're doing this together. And so I'm lucky to have, you know, these guys researching.
That's a great point
for a group of guys who are doing a challenge, and we're seeing what we can accomplish. So.
Well, great. Look, I hope you guys continue doing it, and I hope you continue to share what you're learning, because I think, you know, the science is probably in support, like you were talking about, Tyler, support of changes like this, or just a healthier America and healthier world in general, right?
Yeah.
We don't have...
in more than one way.
Yeah, in more than one way. So thank you very much for the education today. I appreciate it. Acres of Diamonds number 8. We are... Podcast number 8.
Podcast number 8.
We are out.
We're out.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.